Hello everyone, Charles Watts here, Arsenal correspondent at Goal. Thank you very much for joining me again for one of my videos. I did a quick update yesterday after the Arsenal versus Brentford behind closed doors friendly. The little least said about that, the better. Although having said that, I will probably discuss it a little bit during this video. But I thought I'd pop on again today, just do a slightly longer one, just talk about a few things that are going on at the moment with Arsenal. And then I will, as I've been promising for the last couple of videos, get around to doing one of my Q&As. I put a question out on Twitter today, actually. I've had loads of replies to it already. If you haven't replied and you want to get involved, then do dig it out. My Twitter's at Charles_Watts. Go and find that, and if you've got a question or an opinion you want discussed during the Q&A, then do reply to it, and I'll do my best to include it during that discussion, which will take place a couple of days. I'm not sure if I'm going to squeeze it in tomorrow because I'm quite busy, but maybe over the weekend, something like that. We will do it. I'll definitely get it done before the Manchester City game on Wednesday. So let's just go over a few things. That's why I've done this video. Actually, before I say that, can I please just say thank you very much for all your support. I saw today that I've gone over 4,000 subscribers now, which it's really sort of gone up quite dramatically in the last couple of weeks or so. So thank you very much to all my new subscribers, and thank you for your support. And I've been saying it since day one, since I launched this. Unfortunately, I launched it about a week before lockdown happened. So you've had a lot of videos of me, where you have constant videos of me in my house with these very boring white walls behind me. But hopefully I'll be out on the road soon enough at what's going to be very, very different football. So I'll try and do my best to bring you some videos, sort of behind the scenes type videos from Premier League matches when they get up and running again, just to try and tell you the story about what exactly it's like in these games. Because hopefully, certainly for the Arsenal home games anyway, I should be going to those. Whether I'll get into the away games, I'm not so sure yet. But Arsenal, it looks like the sort of regular journos will be getting into those matches. So I should be able to bring you some decent videos from in and around the Emirates on a match day. Now let's get going on what we're going to talk about today. I thought I'd just pop on and talk about a little bit some comments. I'm not sure if you've seen it today. Mikel Arteta's been on Sky Sports on the football show doing an interview, talking about a wide range of things. He talked about the Brentford game yesterday. He talked about the Black Lives Matter movement and the Arsenal players sort of taking a knee and all before the game against Brentford, and warming up wearing the shirts. The Black Lives Matter shirts. I thought that was quite interesting what he had to say about that. So that Aubameyang rang him personally, saying that we as a team, we want to do something. We want to show, stand in solidarity with the Black Lives Matter movement. So Arteta quickly got onto Arsenal about it and explored what could be done, and they decided they've got the T-shirts made up specially. They did obviously the stage photo at the Emirates with all of them lined up, all the players and Arteta lined up along the, I think it was one of the 18-yard box or the centre circle. I think it was the 18-yard box for the photo, which is quite a dramatic photo. And I just thought, yeah, it was quite interesting that the players all got together to do this. And like I said, Aubameyang made the phone call to Arteta to ask him to happen. It was just a good show of solidarity from Arsenal for a movement that obviously is very close to a lot of the players' hearts and to lots of supporters' hearts as well. It should be for all supporters' hearts, because it is a very, very important movement, and important that we hear the voices of those who feel perhaps they haven't been listened to in the past. So I thought there was good, interesting stuff from Mikel Arteta on that, and he also talked a little bit about the uncertainty going into the summer. Talked about the transfer window a little bit and the uncertainty around that, and about pre-season plans that Arsenal aren't sure if they're going to even be going anywhere. It looks like they're not going to be going anywhere, which will be the first time in an awful long time that has been the case. So I just thought I'd try and find some comments for you, if you haven't seen them yet, about exactly what Mikel Arteta had to say here. These comments on the sort of uncertainty ahead of the summer. Apologies, I'm looking down for this, but I'm reading it. Arteta said, "We don't know what is going to happen with the transfer window at the moment. Pre-season looks like we're not going to be able to go anywhere, so we have to have all these things in consideration. Even the time we will have for that preparation is not clear at the moment. So there are a lot of uncertainties that we have to try to plan a few options so we don't get caught out after when they release the dates." And I think that those comments just sum up a little bit about exactly how uncertain the period is that Arsenal and all clubs are headed into this summer, in terms of transfers, in terms of, like I said, pre-season, the usual routines that clubs have booked in long in advance where they were going to be going this summer, all having to be ripped up and started again. And I think it just shows how uncertain these times are. And specifically for the transfer market, it's just so difficult because this is the time. What we're in June now. Deals would be being done fairly regularly at this point of the transfer window. Not seeing too many of them done so far, apart from Chelsea have obviously been the big early movers, mainly because they probably had the Eden Hazard money sitting there that they haven't spent for an awful long time, and Abramovich is protected. Well, is more protected than most from the financial situation that all clubs are facing now with coronavirus. But usually clubs would be desperately moving and shaking, getting deals done right now, but it's not the case anywhere really, and that is because of the uncertainty that clubs and Arsenal are facing. They don't know what revenue is going to be coming in next season, how long fans are going to be outside stadiums for, what effect that's going to have on broadcast revenue, what effect that's going to have on commercial revenue, what effect the financial situation of football is going to have in terms of potential offers coming in for players at the club. So it's such uncertain times at the moment. That's why clubs are finding it so difficult to plan for what lies ahead at the end of this prolonged season. It looks like the transfer window is probably going to run, maybe even start running from before the season finishes up to the end of August. So it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a real squeezed time frame in terms of when signings can be done. And at Arsenal, we kind of know the areas that they're looking at. Central midfield, we know Thomas Partey, big priority. I've discussed that on plenty of these videos before. Centre back, we've got William Saliba arriving. Pablo Mari's loan deal from Flamengo, expectation is that will be turned into a permanent deal. Strong interest in Axel Disasi, the young French defender, who is going to be available this summer, potentially for around £13 million mark. Arsenal have been watching him regularly this season, very impressed by him. Not the only club who are impressed by him. They'd like to be really moving and getting these deals almost done at this point, but not happening at the moment because of the uncertainty that Mikel Arteta spoke about that on Sky Sports earlier. And I thought it was just a real indication about the issues clubs are facing planning for the future at the moment, because it is just such uncertain times and such unprecedented times, really. I'm intrigued about the transfer market this summer. I really am. I'm intrigued about how clever clubs are going to be in terms of the transfer market, in terms of getting deals done, in terms of negotiations with rival clubs, how many swap deals we're going to see, how many loan deals we're going to see. If Arsenal end up losing Aubameyang this summer, which hopefully they don't, but if they do, if they decide to accept the money because he's not going to sign a new contract and a fairly low bid comes in, how are Arsenal going to replace Aubameyang with very little money to play with? Will they go down the loan route? We've seen Jovic at Real Madrid being linked potentially with an Arsenal loan deal. I haven't got any information on that myself, but is that the sort of deal that clubs are going to be looking at, really trying to bring in top quality loan signings that you maybe wouldn't always expect to get? So there's lots to be considered ahead of the window. But I did think Mikel Arteta's comments today were fairly interesting, just in terms of how uncertain even people at the very top of the club are, because supporters are uncertain. We as journalists, we talk to an awful lot of people. We talk to people we know at the club. We talk to agents constantly, and the message we are always getting back is just how up in the air things are, and how no one knows how things are going to pan out over the coming months. And I don't think we're going to get too much clarity on that until the end of the season, until we know where teams are going to be playing in Europe, in terms of what financial money is going to be coming in next season from that. And once it becomes a little bit clearer, and once the talks with the government continue about the potential fans, or some fans, being allowed back into the stadium. One question I'm getting a lot at the moment, I got it a lot after yesterday's game against Brentford, is what's going on with Cedric Soares. He wasn't involved again yesterday. He wasn't seen in training either in the build-up to that Brentford game. And as far as I'm aware, because Cedric Soares has got a loan agreement with Arsenal until the end of June, and he has not yet agreed to extend that loan deal. So Arsenal aren't in a rush, because we've still got some time yet until the end of the month, but he hasn't signed anything yet in terms of agreeing an extension to that loan deal. So there is, there is a possibility that Cedric Soares might end up leaving Arsenal without having played a game. He's injured at the moment. That's why he hasn't played in the last two warm-up games, and why he missed training. You've probably seen in one of the recent training photos, he had a face mask on, not your usual COVID face mask, but actually a protective mask around here. And it's because he got smacked in the face by the ball, from what I understand, and he got a real it really sort of hurt his nose, so he's now wearing a protective mask. And Arsenal felt it wasn't really worth risking him in these warm-up games, and hopefully give him some time to recover from that and not doing any further damage. So not really gone to plan for Cedric Soares since he arrived at Arsenal. Yet to see him in action. Could potentially, if he doesn't agree a loan extension, go without having played a game for Arsenal. He's out of contract this summer, and that is an issue potentially with signing a loan agreement. We've seen Ryan Fraser now, probably the biggest name so far in terms of a player who's out of contract in the summer, and he's told Bournemouth that he is not willing to sign an extension to his contract with the Cherries to play for fear of getting injured and missing out on a move this summer. And like I said, he's probably the biggest name so far to have done that. I've seen a few in the lower leagues as well, and that's the situation that Soares is in. He's out of contract at Southampton, he's on loan at Arsenal, but does he really want to sign an extension just to play a couple of games for Arsenal, then get injured and miss out on a move in the summer? So lots to sort of ponder for Soares, and it'll be interesting to see how it pans out. But there is a possibility, as it stands, he might leave Arsenal without having played a game for the club. As it stands today, we're 6 days away from Manchester City. On Wednesday, what a welcome return that will be for Arsenal, going to the Premier League champions. Just about still the Premier League champions. Obviously, Liverpool will be taking that crown fairly soon. We've all seen what happened in the warm-up game yesterday. Yes, Arsenal lost to Brentford. It was not a good result. The defending was shambolic. You've probably seen the goals. Just horrible defensive moments for David Luiz. Not just Luiz. Like, Luiz has been pillared for that first goal against Brentford. It was a bad mistake. He tried to come out, take charge of the situation. He lost the ball. Brentford broke away and scored. But the Brentford, you've got to look at it. It's not just Luiz's fault. Brentford won that ball back on the edge of the penalty area. And edge of the centre circle, pretty much where Luiz lost it. They still had an awful long way. The ball had a long way to travel before it went into Emi Martinez's goal. And they were allowed to run the ball, Brentford. I mean, it was a good goal, it was a good break, but there were so many opportunities for Arsenal to try and make the tackle. They didn't do it. And so it was, it was just not a great goal by any means for Arsenal. I don't think David Luiz deserves all the abuse he's been getting for it. And the criticism is getting for it because there was plenty of opportunities for Arsenal to resolve that. They didn't do it, and Brentford scored. Lovely finish from Tariq Fosu. In fact, all of Brentford's goals were fantastic. Defending was awful for all of them, but fair play to Brentford because the finishes were great. We saw Lacazette make the mistake for the second goal, and then I think Jamesy made the nars for the third goal. But fantastic finishes. But look, there's no point crying over a defeat against Brentford in a friendly. It's not going to make much difference. It was two very different teams. Mikel Arteta choosing one team for the first half, one team for the second half. There are some positives to come out from it. I thought Kieran Tierney played again. Alexander Lacazette scored again, which is good. That's 2 from 2 for Laka, which will do him the world of good ahead of the Man City game. It would have been more ideal if Arsenal would have got the win, and they'd have gone into the Man City game with 2 friendly wins behind them. It hasn't been the case, but they're not going to. I don't think it's going to have too much of an effect on them going up to the Etihad, having lost to Brentford in that match. From what I understand, that's probably it in terms of friendlies. Now, Arsenal were considering playing another one. It looks like that won't be the case. They'll probably do a very intense 11-on-11 game at the training ground, from what I understand. That seems to be Mikel Arteta's preferred option now. He's had the 2 games against Charlton and Brentford. We'll do one really big, intense 11v11 game at London Colney behind closed doors within the squad. And then that'll be it, going up to Manchester City on Wednesday. Interesting, normally Arsenal would fly up on the Tuesday for a game Manchester, stay in a hotel overnight, and then have an easy day on the match day itself before going to the stadium. Not going to be the case this time. They're going to fly up on the day of the game, from what I understand. Go straight from their airport to the Etihad, probably arrive about 3 hours before kickoff and have their pre-match meal at the Etihad and hang around for the game. That's the new world we're living in terms of football and teams travelling. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen for teams on the having an early kickoff match away from home, because usually you go up the day before, stay at a hotel, but we know most hotels aren't open at the moment. The hotels that are only catering for key workers. So whether Premier League clubs are going to get special dispensation from hotels to open their doors to allow them to come in, because I just don't see how teams are going to travel up for an early kickoff, a 12:30 game, and be allowed to do that on the day itself, because the players are going to be in no state to play, having got up, not slept really, if they'd have to leave early, get the get a flight. It just doesn't make sense. But that's not something for Arsenal to worry about against Manchester City, because it's a 8:15 kickoff. So they're going to be flying up on the morning of the game, and going straight from the airport to the Etihad, where they're going to probably eat their pre-match meal at the Etihad, and then play the game. Hopefully, touch wood, lasagna is not in the menu, and I'm hoping most of you Arsenal fans will get that joke. And that's about it. I think I'm going to be taking part in a press conference with Mikel Arteta at the start of next week. It's going to be done like this on Zoom, and which should be interesting. But that's what we're going to have to get used to now between now and the end of the season, because every press conference is going to be done on Zoom. That's this penciled in at the moment for Monday, but not full confirmation from Arsenal yet. But it looks like it's going to be Monday for that. And obviously, once that's done, I'll come back on here and just talk a little bit about what Mikel Arteta's had to say and what we've learned from that press conference. But until then, I will try and get one more video up between now and then, my Q&A, as I've been saying for the last few videos, and I will do that fairly soon. If, like I said at the start of this, if you head over to my Twitter at Charles_Watts, dig out the tweet I put out this morning asking for your questions or your opinions. If you've got something you want discussed, then please do reply to that tweet, and I will get on it, and hopefully you can have your tweet involved in the show. Thank you very much, everyone, for following once again. And as I said at the start, thank you for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. It's down there somewhere. Hit that button, and I will hopefully keep you entertained as the season progresses with more and more Arsenal content. So until then, thank you very much, everyone. Stay safe. I'll speak to you soon.